If you're hearing this right now, it's not an accident. It's a confirmation. Empath, something massive is shifting around you, and deep down, you can feel it. The same people who drained you, betrayed you, and tried to break your spirit are about to face a truth they can't hide from anymore. 2026 is the year everything flips, the year their masks crack, the year your light exposes every dark intention sent against you. And the craziest part? You won't lift a finger. Life will do the exposing for you. Your comeback is already in motion, and it's unfolding in ways that will shock everyone who thought they understood you. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to reveal will make every confusing moment finally make sense. And if this message feels like it's speaking directly to your soul, don't just scroll away. Let your spirit respond. Tap subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, or drop a simple "I receive this" in the comments. Not for me, but as a declaration of the comeback you're stepping into. 2026 is the year everything finally turns in your favor. The year where all the confusion, all the pain, and all the unanswered questions begin to make sense in ways you never imagined. For so long, you carried the weight of lies told about you, the sting of smear campaigns that twisted your kindness into something it was never meant to be, and the heavy silence of being misunderstood by people who never bothered to look deeper. Narcissists played with your heart like it was disposable, shifting blame, creating illusions, and manipulating the truth until even you started questioning your own reality. But what they never expected was that every seed of chaos they planted would eventually grow into a harvest they would have to face themselves. That time is now. In 2026, life begins its divine reversal, not out of revenge, but out of balance. Everything they said about you starts to crumble because the truth they tried so hard to bury refuses to stay silent anymore. Their lies begin to contradict themselves. Their stories begin to fall apart. People who once believed their words start to notice the cracks, the inconsistencies, the subtle slips that reveal exactly who they are when no one is watching. This is the year where masks fall without you having to expose anyone. You won't need to fight, defend yourself, or explain your side. Life will do that for you. Situations will unfold naturally, revealing hidden motives, secret intentions, and the real reason certain people treated you the way they did. Their true character comes out in ways they can't control, and the spotlight that once painted you as the villain now shines directly on them. And while all of this is happening, something even more powerful rises within you. Your truth, long ignored and overshadowed, finally comes to light. People begin to see you differently, not as the person the narcissist tried to portray, but as the empath who survived, healed, and stayed pure-hearted despite everything done to break you. Your silence begins to speak louder than their manipulation. Your growth becomes undeniable. Your presence carries a strength that cannot be questioned. This reversal isn't just about exposing them, it's about elevating you. It's about restoring every part of yourself that was chipped away, every boundary that was crossed, and every piece of your spirit that was dimmed by their control. 2026 becomes the year where the narrative shifts, where tables turn effortlessly, where justice aligns with timing, and where the universe makes clear what your spirit always knew. You were never the problem. You were the lesson they refused to learn. And now every truth hidden in the dark is stepping into the light, one revelation at a time. In 2026, you step into a level of energetic protection that feels almost supernatural, as if something powerful and unseen is finally standing between you and everything that once tried to destroy your peace. For years, narcissists fed on your openness, your softness, your willingness to understand and forgive, draining your energy little by little until you felt exhausted without knowing why. But now, something shifts. It's like your spirit rises and forms a shield around you, a barrier they cannot cross, no matter how familiar their tactics once were. Their words no longer pierce you. Their games no longer confuse you. Their attempts to provoke you fall flat because your emotional system no longer reacts the way it used to. You begin to feel a deep inner calm, the kind that doesn't shake even when someone tries to trigger you intentionally. You see their patterns, recognize their intentions, and detach before their energy can even touch yours. It's not that narcissists stop trying, it's that nothing they do reaches you anymore. Their manipulation slides off. Their anger no longer intimidates you. Their attention, once so intoxicating and disorienting, now feels empty, almost laughable. You no longer respond out of fear, guilt, obligation, or confusion. You respond from clarity and alignment. You stop over-explaining. You stop justifying. You stop absorbing the emotions they try to project onto you. Instead, you hold your ground effortlessly, protected by a spiritual strength that feels both ancient and newly awakened. This energetic shield doesn't make you distant, it makes you discerning. It doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. You're no longer a target because you no longer offer the emotional access they once fed on. Your silence becomes powerful. Your distance becomes protective. Your peace becomes untouchable. In 2026, you finally understand that your energy is sacred and the universe rises around you to guard it. Narcissists can shout, push, guilt, or provoke, but they cannot enter your mind or heart anymore. Their influence dissolves. Their control evaporates. Their presence no longer drains you. Because this time, you're not fighting them. Your energy simply refuses to let them in. You've stepped into a new spiritual phase where protection surrounds you effortlessly, and for the first time in a long time, you breathe freely, knowing that your soul is finally safe from the people who tried to dim your light. In 2026, something remarkable happens. You no longer have to fight, defend, or justify yourself, because the very people who once believed the narcissist's lies begin to see the truth on their own. For so long, you carried the pain of being misunderstood while the narcissist walked around wearing a perfect mask, charming everyone, performing innocence, and pretending to be the victim. You stayed silent, not because you were weak, but because your spirit knew that exposing them yourself would only pull you into more chaos. And now, life proves you right. Their mask doesn't just slip, it collapses, slowly, then suddenly. The same people they once fooled begin noticing their patterns, the small lies, the quick defensiveness, the jealousy behind every compliment, the double standards, the subtle cruelty that leaks through the cracks. Their words no longer align with their actions. Their stories don't match the reality others are witnessing. Their charm begins to feel rehearsed. Their kindness feels forced. Their anger becomes harder to hide. People start connecting dots you never had the chance to explain. Their inconsistencies show up in public. Their true motives reveal themselves in moments they can't control. They betray themselves with their tone, their reactions, their need to stay admired. And without you lifting a single finger, the truth unravels exactly the way it needed to. You don't have to confront them because life becomes the confrontation. You don't have to expose them because their behavior exposes itself. You don't have to defend your name because time defends it for you. The beauty of this shift is that your silence becomes your power. Your peace becomes your protection. Your absence becomes the loudest message of all. Those who once doubted your experience finally understand why you walked away. Those who judged your distance now see the reason behind it. And the narcissist, who once relied on illusions, loses control over every narrative they tried to create. Their mask falls, not because you pushed it, but because truth always rises when the empath stops participating in the lie. In 2026, you no longer chase justice. Justice unfolds naturally around you. And the world finally sees them exactly as your soul always did. In 2026, something changes inside you that you can't fully explain, yet you feel it in every part of your being. Your intuition sharpens in a way that surprises even you. For years, narcissists played on your empathy, using your good heart to blur your judgment, confuse your instincts, and make you question your own inner voice. They twisted reality, shifted blame, created emotional traps, and used subtle manipulation to keep you off balance. But all of that begins to fall apart now, because your intuition rises above their tactics like a blade cutting clean through fog. Suddenly, the things you used to overlook become crystal clear. You notice tone, energy, hesitation, intention, things most people miss. You feel when someone is hiding jealousy beneath a smile, when someone is pretending to care but secretly competing, when someone is offering kindness with a selfish motive attached to it. You pick up shifts in energy before a single word is spoken. A room that once felt confusing now speaks to you instantly. People who used to drain you become easy to identify, not through their actions, but through the subtle vibration their presence gives off. You sense when someone is not being genuine. You sense when someone wants something from you. You sense when someone is trying to play with your emotions. And the best part? You no longer doubt what you feel. You no longer silence your inner voice to keep the peace. You no longer explain away the red flags or give benefit of the doubt where it isn't earned. This sharpened intuition becomes your spiritual armor. Emotional traps that once caught you no longer work because you see them forming long before they're set. Manipulation loses its power because you recognize the pattern at the very first step. Gaslighting fails because your connection to your own truth is unshakable. You no longer internalize their behavior or take responsibility for their brokenness. You simply recognize it, step back, and protect your peace. This new clarity doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. It doesn't harden your heart, it strengthens your boundaries. It doesn't take away your empathy, it gives you the discernment to know who deserves it. In 2026, your intuition becomes not just a feeling, but a guide, a shield, and a quiet strength that keeps you aligned and safe. You move through the world with a calm awareness, seeing people and situations exactly as they are. And because of this, nothing and no one can pull you into the darkness you once escaped. You've evolved past their tactics, and they can no longer reach the version of you that now stands awakened, grounded, and untouchable. In 2026, something profound begins to awaken inside you, something you may not have even realized you were missing: emotional independence. For years, you were conditioned, trained, and slowly shaped into believing that your worth depended on someone else's reaction, someone else's tone, someone else's approval. Narcissists know exactly how to use that. They thrive on creating emotional dependency. They make you doubt yourself so much that you start relying on their validation just to feel grounded. You waited for their reassurance. You chased their approval. You softened yourself to keep them calm. You apologized just to keep the peace, even when you weren't wrong. You allowed their mood to dictate the temperature of your day. And through all of this, they fed on the control they held over your emotions. But 2026 marks the collapse of that old pattern, not gradually, but decisively, because you finally step into a version of yourself that no longer looks outward to feel worthy, valuable, or safe. You begin to feel something you haven't felt in a long time: stability within your own spirit. You stop chasing the validation that never came. You stop waiting for their approval they weaponized to keep you small. You stop expecting them to understand your heart because you finally understand your own. You begin to give yourself the reassurance you once begged for. You begin to affirm your own feelings instead of seeking someone else's permission to feel them. You stop explaining your emotions, defending your reactions, or justifying your boundaries. And without even trying, you start to pull your energy back from every place it was scattered. This shift is powerful because emotional independence is something narcissists cannot manipulate. They lose access to the emotional buttons they used to press so easily. They lose the ability to guilt trip you. They lose the ability to confuse you. They lose the ability to make you feel responsible for their moods, their choices, or their pain. They lose the ability to control how you see yourself. And for someone who feeds on emotional dependency, this is their worst nightmare. You begin to notice a new sense of peace in your inner world. When someone disrespects you, you no longer spiral. When someone withdraws affection, you don't panic. When someone tries to provoke you, you don't react. The emotional storms you once drowned in can no longer touch the grounded place you've built inside yourself. You stop needing people to choose you because you've chosen yourself. You stop clinging to connections that drain you because your own company stops feeling lonely. You stop giving second, third, and 10th chances to people who never deserved the first one. And this inner independence becomes the foundation for your healing, your clarity, and your rise. You no longer rely on someone else's approval to validate your choices or your worth. You begin to ask yourself, does this feel right to me? Does this align with my spirit? Does this bring me peace? And those answers become enough. Your emotional world becomes something only you can enter, navigate, and understand. You stop being pulled into arguments you didn't start. You stop overthinking messages, tone, or silence. You stop breaking yourself to keep people who were comfortable breaking you. This emotional independence brings something you may not expect: clarity. You begin seeing people as they are, not as you hoped they were. You understand that some people never loved you. They loved the control they had over your emotions. You understand that their approval was never real, only strategic. You see how they fed on your fear of being alone, your fear of conflict, your fear of being disliked. And once you realize this, you take your power back instantly. The emotional hooks they once had in you break one by one. When a narcissist realizes they no longer have emotional control over you, they panic. They react. They throw bait. They test your boundaries. They try to reopen the wounds they once created. But this time, nothing works. Your silence becomes stronger than their manipulation. Your distance becomes louder than their accusations. Your peace becomes brighter than their chaos. They can no longer access your heart, and without access, they lose the ability to shape your reality. 2026 becomes the year where you finally experience emotional freedom, not because you've changed who you are, but because you've stopped giving your emotional power to people who only misused it. You begin to feel proud of your own strength, proud of your emotional clarity, proud of your refusal to shrink yourself for anyone. You realize that emotional independence is not loneliness, it's liberation. It's the moment you stop living in reaction to someone else's behavior. It's the moment you understand that your emotions belong to you, and only you. And as this new version of you emerges, something incredible happens. You attract different people, different experiences, and different opportunities. You no longer attract users, manipulators, or emotional parasites. You begin attracting people who respect you, value you, and match your emotional maturity. People who don't drain your energy, but add to it. People who give without taking. People who love without controlling. This shift in your inner world creates a ripple in your outer world. You feel lighter. You feel stronger. You feel calmer. You feel whole. And as this wholeness grows, the narcissist who once thought they owned your emotions finally realizes the truth. They never owned anything. They were only borrowing the parts of you that you hadn't yet learned to guard. Now you guard them. Now you understand them. Now you honor them. And because of that, your emotional independence becomes the final freedom they can never take away. In 2026, your transformation doesn't arrive with noise, announcements, or grand displays. It unfolds in silence, in the quiet corners of your healing, in the parts of your life no one else has access to. This is the era of your silent glow-up, the kind that grows from within long before anyone on the outside even notices. For years, people underestimated you because you weren't loud about your progress. They mistook your privacy for weakness, your quietness for passiveness, your gentleness for naivety. Narcissists especially believed they had you figured out. They believed they knew your triggers, your fears, your insecurities, and the ways they could pull you back into the cycle whenever they wanted. But what they never expected was that the very silence they used to control you would become the environment where you rebuilt yourself stronger than ever. You rise quietly, away from chaos, away from manipulation, away from the noise of people who had too much access to your energy. You begin healing in ways that no one can see, but everyone can feel. You stop explaining, stop defending, stop trying to prove your worth to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. Your glow grows from the inside out, through clarity, spiritual awakening, and emotional independence. And because it's happening in silence, no one can interfere with it, sabotage it, or twist it. You heal privately. This means you no longer post your pain, share your wounds with the wrong people, or look for comfort in places that previously harmed you. You start giving yourself the compassion you once begged for. You rest, you restore, you rebuild parts of yourself that you forgot existed. You detach from the need to be seen, and ironically, that's when you become the most powerful. As you tend to your inner world, your outer world begins to shift in ways that feel almost magical. You make decisions with more clarity. You stop seeking closure. You stop responding to negativity. You begin trusting your intuition, your timing, and your own spirit more deeply than ever before. Then comes the spiritual transformation, the part no one can copy. While narcissists remain stuck in the same patterns, chasing the same illusions of control, your spirit rises to a higher level of awareness. You start seeing life from a different lens. You understand lessons instead of repeating them. You no longer attract the same toxic cycles because you now operate from a place of alignment, wisdom, and peace. Spiritually, you become grounded, centered, and protected. You stop absorbing the emotions of others. You stop feeling responsible for fixing or saving people. You stop carrying the weight of other people's dysfunction. This spiritual shift becomes the core of your silent glow-up. And this is where the silent glow-up becomes a weapon, not to harm, but to reveal. Your rise triggers their downfall, not because you seek revenge, but because narcissists cannot handle a version of you they can't control. When they see you happy without their approval, it destabilizes them. When they see you peaceful without their involvement, it confuses them. When they see you unbothered by their tactics, it terrifies them. Narcissists don't fear your anger, they fear your indifference. They don't fear losing you, they fear losing control over you. And in 2026, that control is gone, permanently. They begin to panic when they realize they no longer influence your mood, your decisions, or your identity. They reach out, test boundaries, attempt emotional hooks, but none of it works anymore. Your silence becomes louder than any confrontation could ever be. Your growth becomes undeniable. Your glow exposes their insecurities. Your peace reveals their chaos. Your evolution highlights their stagnation. As your vibration rises, theirs falls. Not because you wished it, but because the truth naturally separates what is meant to grow from what is meant to fall away. This silent glow-up changes the way people see you. You walk differently. You speak differently. You choose differently. You no longer settle for half love, half effort, half truths. You move with intention, confidence, and grace. You stop begging to be understood and instead choose to be aligned. You stop shrinking your light just to keep others comfortable. You stop giving access to people who misuse it. This makes your presence feel powerful, even when you say nothing at all. Your silence becomes your boundary. Your growth becomes your protection. Your glow becomes your message. And your peace becomes your revenge. People who once doubted you begin to wonder how you rebuilt yourself. People who once overlooked you begin to notice the shift in your aura. People who once spoke against you begin hearing the truth whispered back to them through your transformation. The narcissist who thought they broke you starts witnessing the version of you they never imagined, healed, whole, elevated, and untouchable. 2026 shapes you into a new identity. The empowered empath who rises without needing anyone to validate their rise. The quiet warrior who leads with wisdom instead of woundedness. The spiritually awakened soul who cannot be manipulated, drained, or dimmed. Your silent glow-up becomes the story of your rebirth, gentle, steady, powerful, and unstoppable. And every person who once underestimated you will have no choice but to watch the light you built in silence illuminate everything they tried to keep in the dark. In 2026, you finally begin to understand something that your past pain never allowed you to see clearly. The doors that closed on you were never punishments, failures, or signs that you weren't enough. They were divine protection. Every person who walked away, every opportunity that slipped through your hands, every heartbreak that left you questioning your worth, none of it was rejection. It was redirection. It was God preparing a stage far bigger than what you were reaching for, even when you couldn't see it. For years, you may have carried a silent wound, the belief that you weren't chosen, that you weren't valued, that you weren't worth the effort or loyalty you gave to others. Empaths often love deeply, openly, and without conditions, so when people leave, it cuts deeper than anyone realizes. But what you didn't know then, what 2026 reveals so clearly, is that those exits were necessary. Some people were removed because their presence would have delayed your elevation. Some opportunities collapsed because they weren't aligned with the purpose you're stepping into now. Some heartbreaks shattered you only so your spirit could rebuild itself stronger than ever before. Every closed door was God stepping between you and something that would have harmed you in ways you couldn't yet see. The friendships that ended were not coincidences. They had reached their spiritual expiration date. The relationships that broke you were never meant to follow you into your healing. The people who betrayed you were revealing their true alignment long before you stepped into your destiny. You may not have understood it then, but in 2026, you begin to feel the divine timing behind it all. You begin to notice that the things you wanted so badly would have never given you the peace you have today. You start realizing that if certain people stayed in your life, you wouldn't have discovered your strength, your clarity, or your spiritual identity as an empowered empath. What felt like rejection was simply God removing you from environments that could no longer sustain your growth. He closed doors to protect your purpose. He ended connections to protect your heart. He broke cycles to protect your future. And now that you've healed enough to see it, everything starts to make sense. You begin to appreciate the silence that came after the chaos. You begin to value the peace you found after losing what once felt familiar. You begin to understand that endings were invitations to rise. You also begin to realize that not every opportunity that fell apart was meant for you. Sometimes you prayed for something too small. Sometimes you accepted less because you didn't yet know your worth. Sometimes you chased situations that your spirit already outgrew. So when those opportunities faded, you felt stuck, unaware that God was clearing your path, removing distractions, and preparing you for something that required a stronger, wiser, more grounded version of you. What you thought was a failure was a setup for alignment. What you thought was a delay was preparation. And heartbreak, perhaps the hardest door to see as divine protection. But in 2026, your heart finally understands. The love you lost wasn't love, it was attachment. The person who broke you wasn't your soulmate, they were a lesson wrapped in emotion. You realize that the heartbreak you survived is the very thing that pushed you into the healing you needed. It forced you to meet yourself. It forced you to choose yourself. It forced you to build the emotional independence that now shields you. That heartbreak didn't destroy you. It introduced you to your own power. As you look back, you start connecting every moment like pieces of a spiritual puzzle. You survived exactly what you needed to survive, so you could rise into who you were meant to become. You outgrew people who stayed the same. You walked away from cycles you once felt trapped in. You learned the difference between what your heart wanted and what your soul needed. And now, in 2026, the stage is set, literally. Doors begin opening that were previously locked. Opportunities begin appearing that feel aligned, peaceful, and purposeful. You find yourself attracting people who match your energy, respect your boundaries, and honor your presence. You step into rooms where you are valued, not tolerated. You enter chapters where your spirit feels free, not drained. The doors that open now are doors you're finally ready for. The relationships that enter now are rooted in sincerity, not manipulation. The opportunities that come now feel like they're flowing to you, not forcing you, because now you're aligned. Now you're elevated. Now you're prepared. And as you step into this new version of yourself, you no longer feel bitterness toward the ones who left. You no longer feel anger toward the people who hurt you. You no longer feel resentment toward the opportunities that fell apart. Instead, you feel gratitude. Gratitude for the protection you couldn't see at the time. Gratitude for the lessons that strengthened you. Gratitude for the paths you didn't take, because the path you're on now is the one that was always meant for you. Closed doors were never rejection. They were preparation. They were divine alignment. They were God clearing your life of anything that couldn't go where you were destined to rise. And in 2026, you step forward knowing, with full confidence and full clarity, that everything lost was simply making space for everything you are finally ready to receive. In 2026, something inside you becomes unshakably different. The same tactics that once tore you apart now have no effect on you at all. It's not because the narcissist suddenly became kinder or more honest. It's because you changed. You awakened. You aligned. You elevated. And because of that, their manipulation simply doesn't work anymore. The games they once played with ease now fall flat, powerless against the version of you that finally knows who you are, what you deserve, and what you will never tolerate again. For years, guilt was their favorite tool. They used it to twist your empathy into a weapon against you. They made you feel responsible for their moods, their mistakes, their choices, and even their abuse. They turned your kindness into a burden and your compassion into a weakness. But in 2026, guilt no longer sticks to your spirit. You feel the shift immediately. When someone tries to make you feel guilty for protecting your peace or enforcing boundaries, you see right through it. Instead of shrinking, you stand firm. Instead of apologizing, you stay silent. Instead of over-explaining yourself, you simply walk away. And the narcissist feels that shift. It terrifies them because they realize guilt can no longer control you. Gaslighting, once their most powerful tactic, becomes useless against you. In the past, they made you question your own memory, emotions, and reality. They denied, twisted, and minimized your experiences until you doubted yourself completely. But now your intuition is too sharp, your mind too clear, your spirit too anchored. When someone tries to gaslight you in 2026, your inner response is calm and confident. No, I know exactly what happened. You no longer feel the need to argue your truth. You no longer let someone rewrite your story. You no longer internalize their distortions. Their gaslighting becomes obvious, a transparent attempt to avoid responsibility. And instead of feeling confused, you feel empowered by how clearly you can now see it. Then there's the silent treatment, a tactic designed to punish you, destabilize you, and make you chase their approval. In the past, silence felt like abandonment. It triggered your fear of losing someone you cared about. It made you overcompensate, apologize, or bend your boundaries just to receive basic communication. But in 2026, their silence becomes a gift. Instead of panicking, you enjoy the peace. Instead of questioning your worth, you recognize their immaturity. Instead of chasing them, you focus on yourself. You finally understand that someone who withholds affection or communication to control you is not someone you need, and certainly not someone you will ever chase again. Their silence no longer hurts you, it reveals them. Triangulation, bringing in a third person to make you feel insecure, jealous, or threatened, also fails miserably. The narcissist once used this tactic to make you compete, to keep you off balance, or to make you feel replaceable. They thrived on watching you fight for their attention, but you no longer see anyone as your competition. You no longer feel threatened by outsiders. You no longer fight for a place in someone's life, especially not someone who intentionally makes you feel small. You simply step back, with the quiet confidence of someone who knows they are irreplaceable. You stop proving your worth and begin protecting it. And what truly destroys the narcissist is this: you don't react anymore. Your emotional detachment is not coldness, it's healing. Your silence is not weakness, it's power. Your distance is not punishment, it's self-respect. You now understand the pattern behind every manipulation. You understand the cycle. You understand the trigger points. You understand the emotional hooks. And because you understand them, they can no longer trap you. You're awake now, deeply, fully, spiritually awake. Their manipulation used to work because you didn't know your strength. You didn't know your worth. You didn't know your boundaries. Now you do. In 2026, your energy rises to a frequency narcissists can't reach. They operate in confusion, chaos, and insecurity. But you operate in clarity, peace, and grounded self-awareness. You no longer respond from trauma. You respond from truth. You no longer see yourself through their eyes. You see yourself through your healed identity. You no longer act from fear. You act from intuition. This elevation forces the narcissist into collapse. Not because you're attacking them, but because they've lost the emotional supply they depended on. They can't provoke you. They can't confuse you. They can't guilt you. They can't pull you back into the spiral. Their manipulation falls flat because you've outgrown the version of yourself they once manipulated. You've become someone they cannot access, influence, or break. And this is the moment they finally face something they never expected. You are no longer controlled by the trauma they created. You are no longer shaped by their treatment. You are no longer defined by their opinions. You've elevated beyond their reach. You've awakened beyond their illusions. You've aligned with a new path where manipulation cannot survive. In 2026, their tactics don't change. You do. And that is what ends their power forever. In 2026, people start seeing you as the chosen empath because your life becomes a living example of divine reversal. They watch you walk into rooms with a presence that feels calmer and brighter than before. They watch opportunities find you instead of you chasing them. They watch blessings unfold quietly around you, new relationships, new respect, new alignment, new clarity. They see how emotionally independent you've become, how confident you are in your decisions, how deeply connected you are to your intuition. You glow differently because you hurt deeply and healed honestly. You rise differently because you no longer carry the weight of old wounds. You speak differently because your voice is not shaking anymore. It's rooted in truth. You attract differently because your spirit is no longer operating from survival. It's operating from purpose. And what surprises people most is the way you stay humble through all of this. You don't brag. You don't seek attention. You don't need applause or validation. You simply walk your path with grace, and people feel the purity in that. You become the example of what resilience looks like after heartbreak, what clarity looks like after manipulation, what strength looks like after spiritual awakening. Your journey becomes a light for those who are still lost in toxic relationships, still battling self-doubt, still trapped in cycles they desperately want to escape. People start saying things like, "There's something different about you," or "You inspire me," or "Your strength gives me hope." And they mean every word. By the time 2026 reaches its peak, you realize something profound. You didn't just survive the narcissists who tried to break you, you transcended them. You outgrew them. You rose above their level entirely. And now people see you for what you truly are, a chosen empath with a mission, a purpose, and a spirit that refuses to be dimmed. Your story becomes more than pain, it becomes a message. Your healing becomes more than personal, it becomes a ripple effect. Your presence becomes more than quiet strength, it becomes undeniable proof that divine justice, divine elevation, and divine timing are real. 2026 doesn't just give you recognition. It gives you identity. It gives you purpose. It gives you your true name back. And the world finally sees you for who you truly are. In 2026, something extraordinary begins to shift around you, not just inside your spirit, but in how people look at you, speak to you, and respond to your presence. For the first time in years, people begin to recognize what you've carried all along, the unshakable strength of a chosen empath. They see your softness not as weakness, but as power. They see your silence not as fear, but as wisdom. They see the way you survived storms that would have destroyed most people, yet you continued to love, to heal, to rise. This year, your resilience becomes a spiritual testimony that others can't ignore. People who once overlooked you suddenly study the way you move. They notice that your energy feels different, cleaner, calmer, sharper, more protected. They see the way you speak with clarity, stand with confidence, and walk with purpose. It becomes harder for anyone to misunderstand you because your light speaks louder than words ever could. Those who once doubted you are surprised by the quiet authority that surrounds you. They can't explain it, but they feel it. They sense a spiritual maturity in you that wasn't there before. It's not pride, it's alignment. It's not ego, it's elevation, and it sets you apart. What truly changes in 2026 is the way your journey starts inspiring others. People begin seeking guidance from you, not because you pretend to know everything, but because you survived enough darkness to understand the truth behind emotional battles, spiritual warfare, and narcissistic manipulation in ways that the average person never will. You become someone people feel safe opening up to. Your presence feels grounding. Your words feel healing. Your insight feels divine. You're no longer just kind. You're wise. You're discerning. You're spiritually marked, and others can feel that. They see the way you stay calm even when chaos tries to poke at your peace. They see how you refuse to change your character even after being wronged. They see how you choose compassion without sacrificing boundaries, and how you choose growth without holding on to bitterness. Your evolution becomes visible. Your spirit becomes magnetic. People want to learn from you, not because you preach, but because you embody a truth they want to understand. What's even more powerful is how narcissists lose influence while your influence rises naturally. They can't twist your story anymore because people aren't blind the way they were before. They see the difference between your energy and the narcissist's chaos. They see who carries authenticity and who carries manipulation. They see who speaks from the heart and who performs for attention. They see whose life is moving forward and whose life is collapsing under the weight of their own lies. Without you lifting a finger, without you exposing anyone, without you defending yourself, the truth separates itself. Narcissists who once controlled the narrative suddenly realize that no one believes their stories anymore. Their charm fades, their tactics stop working, their patterns become obvious, and the very people they fooled begin silently distancing themselves. Meanwhile, the respect you receive grows, not because you demand it, but because your character earned it. In 2026, your comeback doesn't arrive quietly. It doesn't slip into your life unnoticed. It unfolds in a way that even the people who doubted you, dismissed you, or disrespected you can't ignore. Your healing becomes visible. Your confidence becomes undeniable. Your success becomes unavoidable. And your elevation becomes the final judgment on every single person who underestimated you. This isn't about bragging or proving anything. This is about alignment, divine timing, spiritual restoration. This is what happens when an empath stops shrinking to make others comfortable. This is what happens when you finally step into who you were always meant to be. For years, you dimmed your light to avoid conflict, to keep peace, to protect people who would never have done the same for you. You held back your voice, your dreams, your gifts, your potential. But 2026 arrives like a spiritual reset, pushing you forward in a way that isn't subtle, it's loud, it's clear, and it's permanent. Your comeback becomes public because the world needs to witness what real transformation looks like. You have spent years healing in silence, rebuilding quietly, working on yourself privately, and now the outer world will reflect the inner work you've done. People will see the glow in your spirit, the strength in your voice, the clarity in your decisions. They'll see the peace you walk with, the boundaries you enforce, and the wisdom you carry. And the most surprising part is that you don't have to announce anything. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to defend your past, justify your choices, or explain your growth. Your life speaks for you. Your progress speaks for you. Your energy speaks for you. And it speaks loudly enough for everyone to hear. The narcissists who once felt superior to you will feel the shift first. They will sense the distance, the strength, the confidence. They will notice how unreachable you've become emotionally and spiritually. They will see that their old tactics have no effect anymore. And when they realize they can't pull you back into the cycle, they also realize something else. They never truly knew your power. They only knew the version of you who was trying to survive. They only knew the version who loved too much, forgave too often, gave too generously. They never met the healed empath, the elevated empath you're becoming now. And your transformation becomes a judgment they cannot escape. As your life rises, their illusions fall. The people who believed lies about you will begin to question everything they were told. The ones who mocked your pain will feel embarrassed watching your rise. The ones who thought they were better than you will be forced to see the truth. You were the one carrying integrity, patience, purity, and endurance. And now the world sees it too. Your blessings become undeniable. Your opportunities expand. Your relationships improve. Your energy attracts people who respect you, value you, and see your worth instantly. New connections appear, new doors open, new paths unfold. Everything you lost is replaced with something healthier, stronger, and more aligned with your purpose. Your comeback becomes powerful because it's built on truth. You didn't rise by stepping on others. You didn't elevate through manipulation or shortcuts. You healed the hard way. You faced your shadows. You rebuilt your identity. You chose growth over revenge, peace over chaos, and purpose over ego. You faced every emotional wound instead of running from it. And because your foundation is solid, your rise is unstoppable. No one can take away what God is giving you now. No one can block what's aligned for you. No one can interfere with the path that was designed for your spirit long before the pain ever entered your life. Your comeback becomes permanent because you transformed at the soul level. You didn't just become stronger, you became wiser. You didn't just move on, you leveled up. You didn't just heal, you awakened. The lessons you learned can't be unlearned. The intuition you gained can't be shut off. The boundaries you built can't be broken. The peace you discovered can't be stolen. You're not returning to who you were before the damage. You're becoming someone entirely new, someone impossible to manipulate, break, or shrink. And your presence begins to shift the spaces you enter. People feel your authority without you saying a word. They feel your confidence in the way you walk, the way you make decisions, the way you carry your energy. You stop seeking approval because you no longer need it. You stop justifying your worth because it's already proven. You stop apologizing for your sensitivity because you finally understand it's your superpower. Everything about you becomes more grounded, more intentional, more spiritually aligned. You become someone people notice without trying, someone people respect without asking, someone people admire without forcing. You become the version of yourself that you used to pray for. 2026 becomes the year where life places you exactly where you belong, in rooms you once felt unworthy of, in environments that match your frequency, in opportunities that honor your growth, around people who treat you with the love, respect, and sincerity you always deserved. And as your blessings unfold publicly, people will say, "I always knew they were special," even though they didn't. People will say, "They deserve this," and they'll be right. People will say, "Their strength inspires me," and your journey will continue lifting others. The beauty of your comeback is that it doesn't just change your life, it becomes a beacon for anyone who has ever been broken, silenced, manipulated, or underestimated. Your rise is not about showing off. Your rise is about showing the truth. And once your comeback begins, it doesn't fade, it settles, it stays, and it becomes permanent. Because when an empath stops shrinking, the whole world feels the shift.